Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Insta360 ONE RS 1-inch 360 edition. Now, the naming of this product, not ideal to say the least, but the concept I think is fairly brilliant, and that's because what you're looking at for $799 US is expensive and heavier than any of Insta360's previous 360-degree cams, but this yields the highest quality of anything that is consumer friendly, even if you think $800 is a lot. So co-engineered with Leica, I think it's more like branded with Leica, but only a year ago, or excuse me, it's now a couple of years ago, pandemic brain, sorry, I picked up my first Insta360 product, the 1-inch edition, the 1R, and it's a great little piece of kit, far more affordable now. They refreshed it. It's modular. I've got the 360-degree mod for it right here, but this has two 1-inch sensors. So this kicks up the quality and low light performance to a level we just simply have not seen in the consumer market. They have a pretty solid amount of accessories. Most complaints about this camera are to do with pricing, which if you use it for work, commercial purposes, then it's still quite affordable, and then its weight and the lack of true water resistance. In the box, you get the 1-inch 360 lens, the RS core, the vertical battery, the mounting bracket, charging cable, and lens cap. And outside of that, really not a whole lot else to imagine. You can see I've purchased some accessories. Let's go ahead and finally open this thing up. I've waited long enough, to say the least. And for those of you that follow my channel, you know that I've done a little bit of a disappearing act, not by choice, but unfortunately I've continuing to face a lot of different challenges. Not going to get into that here in today's video. Let's focus on the incredibly cool tech. So I don't plan on retiring this. After all, when I have the normal base on here, this is water resistant and not a 360 cam and modular, so I feel like it has a lot of different uses. But here we have the apex right now of 360-degree capture. And I've always thought 360 was incredibly cool. The problem was the quality for me personally. I enjoyed using the Rilo. Of course, they're no longer with us. I enjoyed using this little guy. But with something like this, it's going to change the game. And this is still modular. I think the other biggest concern with this is protecting the lenses. And Insta is supposed to have an official answer to that, some lens covers, hopefully, or protectors, I mean. Hopefully I get my hands on them sooner than later. But availability, again, has been the biggest challenge with this camera. So what I can tell you as I remove tape from my fingers is that I like the look and feel. It's solid. Insta360 software is great if, like me, you essentially want to take something like this on a trip. In my case, that's exactly what I'll be doing. And you really don't want to miss a beat. And then in post, that you can essentially edit this any way you like from any point of view. And essentially, you have creative flexibility that just doesn't exist with traditional cameras. And now with the 1-inch sensor, even low light performance is solid. Now some people will prefer the X2 or the new X3. I've ordered that as well. Hopefully it comes before I leave. And for those of you wondering why I would get both, it's because this is not an action cam in any way, shape, or form. This, fits in as a traditional camera like anything else in my arsenal, but specifically, again, 360 degrees. So let me go ahead and put this down, and hopefully it doesn't fall over. You can see I got the mic adapter, the quick reader, because you're really not going to want to take this apart to get to your micro SD card. So I feel like the quick reader, it's something I traditionally would never want to buy, but here it is for that reason. It's really about convenience. And then the power selfie stick. Now, Insta360 does not say that this is certified to function with this, but everything I've read is that it pretty much does. So I'll report back on that. Let's look at the rest of the accessories in here. And, I've had this for a while. I just haven't been able to make content for medical reasons, for lack of a better way of putting it. And, I'm just doing my best to get back into the groove before, of course, I leave So let's take a look at all those accessories. In particular, besides, the silica gel, don't eat that, the actual lens cap is critical because you need to protect those lenses. And, again, availability on this has been really rough for whatever reason. We got a little cleaning cloth, and then I'm looking for the USB cable, which I'm not seeing, but I know it's there. I've also ordered let's see if I'm wondering why I'm not seeing that USB cable. Oh, it's right in front of me. That's why. You see, I told you I'm having medical problems. At any rate, the beauty, again, of this camera is, in my opinion, even though people are saying it's heavy, it is very light compared to what I traditionally would be shooting with, and it's going to give me content that, even if it's B-roll, it's going to give me, I think, a pretty solid match with other 1-inch cameras I have, like the ZV-1, among others, RX100 line, and that's, to me, a big difference. Now, in terms of what's on board, again, this all breaks down. We have our mount on the bottom, which I'm waiting still for Insta360 to deliver the mic mount for this. I plan on pairing it with a microphone because I do want solid audio quality. Excuse that the focus here is lost on the fact that there are too many accessories in the background. And there are a lot of instructions on this. You can see they're outlining how to disassemble it, which I don't even want to do because, quite frankly, I don't want to screw anything up. But I think I can handle it. So let's start with pulling off the core. You've got to hit both of those tabs. I almost hit only one. So now that core is free. Keep in mind that if I wanted to use, the core from my old One R right here, I could, but I don't see the need. I've also heard of people saying that this is overheating, but we'll see. This is a touchscreen display, by the way, and they're telling you, basically charge the battery before you use it. All the standard stuff that you would expect. Right here, we have, I believe, this is the the micro SD card access. Is that correct? Let's see. It says, please open the USB cover before disassembling or assembling the camera. But I'm going to just attempt to, I'm failing on popping this open. What's new? And, I could continue going with this. Record button, power button, and then the menu system, I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking. I'm wondering why I'm having an issue popping this open. But either way, this is something that I'm going to spend time with and obviously get more acclimated to using. I have not really looked at a ton of information. I've just looked at the actual results from this. And so far, I'm really pleased by what I've seen. Again, for me, I think the biggest letdown, knowing right out of the box, is that I needed so many accessories, but that's the nature of Insta360 products these days, and keeping this lens assembly safe and scratch-free. Another thing that I would say is probably one of my biggest drawbacks with this is just not having the ability to use this underwater. So if that's what you're looking for, I don't think that Insta has any plans on giving us a actual enclosure. I know there are some third-party ones in the works, but I don't know that this is really designed to deliver that. So we've got a cleaning cloth. We have what appears to be a replacement door for the unit. And again, I'm just not excited about trying to disassemble this further right now in this video. Let's go on to some other accessories because I think that's critical, and that's obviously part of this. So the vertical card reader, and I think they may have actually just introduced a new one for the X3. And for those of you wondering why I would bother purchasing the X3 if I just got this, look, if you own the X2, you probably don't need to pick up the X3 because they didn't change the game with resolution there. What they really did was just change the game in terms of the look and feel of the device, because having that larger display, it's something I wish existed on this unit as well, but simply does not. And these are expensive accessories. I mean, unfortunately, this is, I feel like, how Insta gets you. Their cameras, this one is $7.99, but they're generally not incredibly expensive. But then once you start piling on these little $60, $30, $20, things, Well, all of a sudden, this has become as expensive as a traditional RX 100. And of course, an incredibly different tool, and I'm fortunate enough to have both. But with my new found challenges, I've got to just keep things as light as possible. So this is going to make it very easy for me, even though I'll never, essentially remove my micro SD card, which is a good and bad thing in certain ways. Not going to get into that, but this is going to let me access all of that data and dump it off without ever having to remove the SD card from what I'm going to start referring to as the 1-inch 360 edition, which is all they should have called this thing. Take notes, Insta. I can help you with this issue of naming, which they don't really have with other products, because when you look at the rest of what they make, you will quickly see, as I try to open this, and I'm struggling with that finger for a variety of reasons, that you're just not going to see naming issues with the balance of their products. So it's like the X2, the X3, the 1R, the 1RS. This is the only one that has that naming snafu. The mic adapter, self-explanatory. You want to attach a mic, you need the adapter. Is this something I think they should have figured out by now? Of course, because we really shouldn't need to buy 1 million accessories for this. But if this is what it takes to get what I desire out of this piece of hardware as the box piles continue to form, then that's simply how it's going to go. So let's get rid of a lot of this stuff, that silica gel, get all this paperwork out of here. And last but certainly not least is the power selfie stick. Now I do have some other ones coming. This is ideal for this unit for me because we still cannot get additional batteries for it. So in my mind, this is a no-brainer. In the event I need extended shooting time, I'm not a fan of selfie sticks, but come on, if you're buying anything from Insta, especially that supports the invisible selfie stick function, then you're going to want one of these. It's a no-brainer. This is about 70 US. And by the way, if at any point in this video you thought it was sponsored or Insta360 sent me any of this, you would quickly realize this video would have been out when they announced it at launch. That's the way marketing and paid reviews work. Take it from me. So this is, I have no relationship with Insta. If that changes, you will all know, trust me, and I welcome it. I think that they are in a position to really become game changers, but they need much better customer support. They need a true US footprint. As long as everything they're doing is basically only out of China, it's going to hinder rather than help. So construction on this feels really good. Of course, we have our traditional action cam mounting point, the ability to loosen that, tighten it. We have power, record. I mean, this is giving you everything, and then you even have a quarter 20 down here at the bottom. Type-C port for charging because you do have that internal battery. So this is, to me, again, even though it's not certified for this device, everything I've read is that it does work. So you better believe I will be using it. Now, of course, you do need to tether the camera using a cable to the power selfie stick. You can see the port right there. And this is the way that I'm going to be able to keep this baby juiced up as I use it all around town. So, I mean, in a perfect world, I don't really plan to have to use this very often. But in those events where I need that extra juice, it's going to pay off. So, I may as well go over this one more time. After I remove this, because I'm going to need to learn to do it, and I haven't watched a single video on this, like most of you. So one, you've got to push the lock button. I did that. To open the USB cover on the side. Now, I was struggling with that before, so I'm going to try again. I mean, it looks really simple, but there we go. So I wasn't prepared to rip my nail off. Now I gave it the full heave-ho. There's your Type-C port for charging. If you were upset I didn't get it before, boo to you. Now it's open, kids. And then, last but not least, insert a micro SD card into the core. Now, in order to do that, I believe we have to remove even more. So I'm still not sure how we get to that next level. It's a little bit of a game. But it can't be too complicated, right? Let me remove this. Now you can finally see the plastic enclosure if you were wondering about it. Now it is completely revealed. And that maybe is the other thing. I'm not sure this needed to be modular. I feel like Insta kind of just used what they had available. It's not a bad thing, but I mean, this concept already existed. They had introduced it for this device. So it just seems like it's a somewhat natural extension of that. Now I'm looking at how I can actually pop this out, and it just slides right out. The easiest way often is exactly that. And all of a sudden you can see what very much looks exactly like my good old One R or the newer One RS. And that's exactly what they've used here. This is the core from the One RS. And technically, if I really wanted to, I could obviously pair this up with my older 1-inch 1R. But what benefits would I have? Maybe not too many. And this is that acclaimed battery that you just can't get anywhere right now, which is sad. But eventually, I'm sure it will become available. These are about $50 a piece. It'll be interesting to see if I experience overheating. There is that impossible to reach micro SD card slot, which is why I have purchased the card reader that you see here. And now you understand why you need all of these little tchotchkes, if you will. But there you have it. You're now looking at my brand new 360 cam, which I think for prosumers, this is going to be a great option. That's my anticipation. I certainly waited long enough for them to iron out the majority of the kinks that almost every product launches with from Insta. And now, on top of that, most of the accessories, other than the mic mount, is in tow. Hopefully Insta gets that to me before I leave. If not, audio from this device is not going to be optimal, and of course I want it to be. Long video, really interesting product that has had mixed, I would say has been received in a mixed capacity, but from what I've seen, again, just video footage, this thing is, if you're creative, it's a creative tool that people I think dream about and often don't know that it exists. And of course, if you want more of an action cam feel, that's what the X2 and X3 are all about. Just remember, if you want to go diving, aka underwater with that, the new X3 I have coming, you're still going to need an underwater enclosure in spite of its IP rating giving you, I don't know, what is it, like up to 33 feet? Because the stitching, it's just not going to function properly underwater on its own. But the X3 does have that advantage of single lens capability, so you can get a flat image rather than 360. Hopefully that's ported to this, because this camera should be at the top of the pyramid, and certainly it's only a software mod that would let you all of a sudden turn this into just a great 1-inch camera, similarly to this guy, but with what should be better overall quality in that we have slightly newer hardware and, of course, better firmware support updates. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.